Yo, what up? Anyway, I'm not gonna stay too long because when that happens, that's my whole computer just crashes or whatever the fuck when that happens. So that's a complete momentum killer. We were getting good into the conversation too. It's hella fucking annoying. Y'all want the good news or the bad news? Y'all want the good news or bad news? Or what do you want first? I guess you could say good news or bad news first. The bad first. Well, the bad news is the last stream got fucked up, so I'm not gonna be on too long because that completely kills the momentum because it disrupts the whole flow of the conversation. So I'm not even gonna stay on too long. It's just draining when I have to keep starting and stopping and redo it. But the good news is I'm pretty sure I found out what's caused the streams to do this, and it's really stupid. Google owns YouTube. I've always used Google Chrome browser. There is some kind of bug with the latest version that is available of Google Chrome browser and YouTube. The latest version of YouTube, which is owned by Google, and Google Chrome aren't working. So I have a workaround. I can use another browser. And then I actually was, if you look at my last like 5 streams since the AJ loss, all of my streams, I used a different browser. Didn't have any problems. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have no problems. Then for that last stream, I went back seeing if the problem had been fixed since YouTube was fucked up, and then it did it again. So I think I guess I just can't use Google Chrome, even though that's the browser I have all my information saved with and shit. Like what the fuck? Hella annoying. But anyway, to wrap up what I was saying, in case you guys missed it, they said Joshua's dad was trying to confront and yelling and cussing at Eddie Hearns after Joshua got knocked out. So I have different theories as to what the possible thing is. I don't know what he was mad at. Nobody has talked about it, but I have a couple of different theories. But the theory that seems most logical to me is I told you option 2 or 3. Option 2 is they say like Joshua was getting cold feet, having a panic attack. Like, this whole thing was becoming too much or whatever for him, and he tried to back out. But Eddie Hearn, having ties to the zone, and he doesn't want that to reflect badly on him. He's like, no, you have to fight. What are you doing? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got Madison Square Garden, blah blah blah. And then he fought, and then this happened. So his dad was pissed. Or option 3 would be maybe after Gerald Miller failed the drug test, maybe they wanted to push the date back or take it back to the UK so they didn't have to switch opponents and styles and give themselves only 5 weeks. And it could tie back into Joshua's mental strength. Like, how Joshua is. Bro, in my opinion, I've always said the same thing, and look at it. It's like they have to baby Joshua. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. It's like they have to baby him. Like, like he has to, like, you have to talk to him slowly so he understands everything. And, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they have to baby him and, like, coach him through it. And if he's having one of these anxiety or panic attacks and things, like, he's living inside his own head or whatever, you know. I told you it's this new media shit, you know. But my fear for Joshua is this. You hired a sports psychologist, a man child. See, that's what I'm saying. Like you have to like. Some people aren't good under stressful situations. Like me, based on who I am in my life, I'm pretty good with pressure. Like I can meet deadlines, and I kind of like pressure because it keeps me on the toes. I'm a fire sign though. I'm an Aries, so I like pressure. But some people don't deal well with pressure. Maybe the event got too much for him. Switching opponent. Oh, here's the other thing. Deontay Wilder, like if he was already mad, like not mad, but if he was already feeling like, just look at it. If he was already feeling doubts about switching to Andy Ruiz style and like maybe bugging out because he's thought he was fighting Gerald Miller, who he actually had disdain for, and was gonna take that out, and then now switching to a guy he doesn't really have this animosity for, um, different style. That probably, maybe that was already like tripping him out. But then you look at the strategy between Deontay Wilder, what he did, and Al Heyman. They announced the Luis Ortiz fight clearly on his fight week to, steal the show. And then they announced that not only is it Wilder and Ortiz too, but it's Tyson Fury after that. And they're going to do a pay-per-view. So your enemies have conspired to work together to fuck you up. You know what I'm saying? Should he get past Luis Ortiz, and should Tyson Fury get past whoever he fights this year? That could have set him off the edge. That could have set him off. If you were already bugged out and then somebody pulls a chess move like that, like I told y'all, that'll fuck your whole mood up. Wouldn't it? I told you it was a chess. Chess, not checkers. So I think it's somewhere in between those things, How would you feel? Two of your rivals teaming up to get together again, because then, okay, why? It's just a lot. I told you. Oh my God. I need to just change it to I told you, ego. I just said all this stuff. I told you all this stuff. Joshua was under enormous amount of pressure, and look at how he looked. I said this before the fight. There's an enormous. Wilder just had a killer knockout in the first round in the same city, fresh on people's mind, that went viral, right? So this could explain when you hurt Ruiz, why you jumped on him like a maniac with and threw caution to the wind, because it was only in the third round, and you were trying to, have a successful, you trying to get him out of there so you can have a successful American debut, and then Ruiz wasn't having it, and he hurt you back, and then you never really recovered. Oh, the shooter's just gonna let that guy call me a bum? That's what's up. Thanks, shooters, for doing your job. See how I gotta be a bum and shit? Old media is fucking pissed, bro. You little bum. So there was an enormous amount of pressure. Wilder had already had the killer knockout that is recent in people's mind, that went viral. So he said he don't like to compare. See, this is what I'm talking about. Joshua is this. These are quintessential lack of confidence, like indicators, insecurity, like indicators, non-alpha male indicators. Joshua simply does not. He does not keep the same accord. It's just what it is. He said he's coming out to Dipset or Biggie. Day later, 2 days later, he said he's coming out to Patty Cake, or whatever. Sweet Caroline or Frank Sinatra. Like, what? Why would it, when you're with the hip, sweet scientists, you say one thing because they're from New York. And then when you around white America or, the UK fans, which has more of There was a lot of white people at the fight. Then you say something about some sweet Caroline, and it's just weird. It's like you're trying to please everybody or some shit. That's what it feels like. And he's done, and the thing is, he keeps doing it. He said, "I'll fight Wilder when I want." 2018, 2019, 2020. Then it's like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. I want to fight him now. What? And then he's like, you can't get in my ring. Klitschko never did that. I think he has real life anxiety issues or some shit. Because why he kept talking about Klitschko? Povetkin, he treated me like a gentleman. You know, Klitschko, he was so nice to me. I'm like, okay, Wilder's from the hood. He's not gonna be nice to you. You know, you're trying to be diplomatic and shit, diplomatic community. You know, and Wilder can't get in your ring, but then you're like, meet with me. Like, it just doesn't. None of it's consistent. Like almost everything Joshua says is inconsistent. He says, "Oh, Andy Ruiz, if he wants to trash talk, I'll break his jaw." And then after he said that, he said he let Ruiz hold his belts. I mean, none of this makes sense. I don't know where you guys are all from, but if you a man, none of that makes sense. From any, and nowhere I know in America does that make sense. Where you could constantly change what you say. You know, you meet a girl, you say, "Hey, what's up? You want to go on a date?" "Yo, sure, I'll take you up on that offer." "Okay, pick you up at 8. Great, 8 it is. 8 sharp, 8 p.m. Let's go. And then you get there at 5 p.m. Like, what are you doing here so early? "I know I said 8, but I changed my mind, bitch. Get ready." Like, it's not, that's not manly actions, like, to me, like alpha male actions. How you change everything, like everything you say, you know? One minute he says, "Oh, I don't talk to that's why I don't mention these guys' names. I don't mention their names." And then fight week, he was nonstop mentioning their names. One minute he's like, "Bro, there's no man that acts like that, that is secure and doesn't have insecurities or is fully confident. That's just not simply what you would do. If you're about what you say you're about, you don't need validation." The man said, he says, "Oh yeah, I don't." One minute he's saying, that's what I'm saying. It's like talking to multiple people, like multiple personalities. One minute he says, "Oh yeah, I don't believe in the fake hype. The fake hype. I don't mention. That's why I don't mention these guys, because they want too much." All right, fair enough. Then another interview, he's like, "Walter, fight me, meet with me," like, and he won't stop talking about. It's like or Eddie Hearn told him to blow up Wilder's name and stop, like, nonstop talking, and then that's what Al Heyman and Wilder came up with that plan, and then they said, "You know what, we're gonna announce our shit during your shit, so they have no reason to clout chase." It's just, bro, he has, and this is the sad part about it, is all of this stuff is documented. All this stuff has been going on, and it takes for Joshua to lose for you guys to allegedly see it. But I've been saying the same thing over and over and over again. What Eddie Hearn said, what Anthony Joshua said, simply was not consistent. It was not congruent. People want to say, "Oh, Wilder's ducking the fight," and y'all played this stupid game, and then I'll read quotes from both, where he's saying one thing and where he sounded super confident, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know." Like, he said Andy Ruiz, if he wants to call me a robot, I'll break his jaw. But then at the weigh-in, you let him use your belts, and it was on some friendly shit. That's weird. If I have a problem with somebody, when I see them, it's going to be a problem. It's not like, "Oh, I get in. I can't trust me," because, man, trust it. People do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they'll say, "Man, fuck ego, little bitch," and then they see me at a fight. I can't trust that energy. Like, you got to be the same person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's not consistent, either don't talk about people or be the same person like when you see them, and just suffer the consequence if there is, depending on what that is. He's all over the place. I'll break his jaw, but then you're buddy buddy with him, letting him hold your belts. That, like, okay, for example, it was apparent Andre Ward and Kovalev did not like each other. That's the feeling I got. So when they got to the face off, it was tense. Kovalev wasn't laughing. Ward was like, and Kovalev was just like, yeah, real piece of shit. It wasn't like he and like hold the belt with me, and it wasn't that. Joshua has a history, a pattern that, like, y'all wanted to blame Wilder so bad, and all these signs, all that stuff was here. All this shit was here. Like, Tyson Fury, like, shout out to him. What you see is what you get. Tyson Fury hopped in the ring on Wilder and says, "I'll fight you in your backyard, you bum, you're a big bum dosser." He was 2 feet away from Wilder, snatched the mic from Jim Gray, and says, "I don't care about you. I came to your own fight. I'll fight you in your backyard right now." Like, savage. The same savage that he's on Twitter, he popped up at the Spilka fight after Wilder knocked out Spilka and stole the mic. It says, "I'll fight you in your backyard. Yo, boom." You know, same person, same motherfucker that's on Twitter taunting these dudes. Joshua is not like that. He's like, "Oh, yeah, break his jaw," but then you let him hold your belt. It's just all over the place. I can't believe it if you're all over the place like that, indecisive and shit. I simply can't. You know? Say you want to fight in 2020, but then now you want to meet with me, and like, you don't like to bring up people's name, and then now you always bringing up Joshua's, always was bringing up his name for this particular fight. He had one interview where he said, "I don't like to compare people's fights." He said, "You can't really compare my fight with Brazil with Wilder's because I have a different style." Fair. But then he has an interview with Sky Sports where he says, "I hope Wilder," before the fight, he said, "I hope Wilder knocks out Brazil after me so I can say I did it first." This is simply inconsistent. That's what I'm saying. There's something like a screw missing. If you can't understand this and hear a grown-ass man, not like a kid, not like a toddler or something, but a grown-ass man saying thing A in a short period of time saying thing B, hear both of them, and then pretend like this makes sense. He says, "You can't really compare." He said, "I'm not in competition with anyone. You cannot compare my fight with Dominic Brazil and him because I fight different and I like to break my guys down, blah, blah, blah." Cool, fair enough. If you just said that and left it, I'm good with that. But I remember what you said. You said, "I hope Wilder gets the knockout. I think he will get the knockout, but I hope he does it after me so I could say I knocked out Brazil first." And then Wilder knocks him out in one round, so he wins that contest. You know? He wins that contest. So there was just a lot of pressure on AJ, and that's you could tell who means something when they hold their positioning. That's it. Wilder stood his ground and he maintained. Joshua said, "I'm going to smoke him out." It was only when Eddie Hearn and AJ were playing these "I'm the boss" A-side games over and over, and he seen he had another lane where he could just say fuck them and fight Fury, do good numbers, fight him in a rematch eventually. He wanted next, but Fury left, blah, blah, blah. And then now he realizes he can go his own path. So he's like, "Man, I'm not in a position where I have to rely on their games now." New media is killing old media dead. I told y'all, I'm not going to stop. We gonna talk about this every fucking day until their points make no sense, bro. I'll make this my life's work, and see, like I said, you don't see me doing videos like skateboarding and like driving and at the gym and shit like that. I get to sit right here. I do this full time. I could wake up when I want. No kids. I'm ready. These motherfuckers can't compete. Half these motherfuckers like work in a cubicle for someone or plumbers or whatever the fuck people do. I do this YouTube shit full time. So we gonna see. And we gonna see them knock down. Like, it's just like a shooting team like Golden State Warriors. Let's see you contest and let's see you knock down all these shots. Some of them shits are gonna sink. That's just inevitable. So try to put your hand up and block these shots, bro. All the points we bring up, let's see if you can create a damage control to patch up all these holes, because we working. Joshua, as well as Eddie Hearn, not consistent. I can tell you 1,000 different things Eddie Hearn said oh yeah, they took too long with the contract, so September is not available for Wembley. Then he fought Povetkin in Wembley in September. That makes no sense. They said, hey, our next two fights, AJ's staying home. AJ's a coming home. Wembley for the next two. April 13th. We got the date. We got the venue. And then April 13th encroaches. And then they say, hey, we're not fighting at Wembley anymore. Why not? Then on Sky Sports, for the longest time, they said if Wilder or Fury aren't next for AJ, then the front runner was Dillian Whyte. What happened? Dillian Whyte was at the negotiating table, and all of a sudden you can't come to terms because of money. He wants too much money. But then you have to overpay people, as you put it, because you need a late replacement, and Gerald Miller fucked up. Bro, this is all Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn's fault. They tried to manipulate and control the board and overplayed their hand. Why didn't they just fight Dillian Whyte at Wembley and do whatever it's going to do? That's a guy Joshua already beat. He would have the comfort zone of being at his own home. They fucked that up because they didn't want to pay Dillian Whyte. And Dillian Whyte got smarter, and he's like, yo, I'm knocking out Lucas Brown. I'm knocking out Derek Chisora. I cleaned up my work, because Derek Chisora really beat Dillian Whyte, in my opinion. But then he came back, had a war, avenged it. I'm fighting on pay-per-view versus Parker, fighting on pay-per-view versus Chisora out in the UK. I mean, you gotta pay me, You gotta pay me right. They didn't want to pay him right. They should, if Joshua was going to lose to Andy Ruiz, like how he did, they should have just made the Dillian Whyte fight at home. Kept Joshua in the UK where he's more comfortable and wouldn't have a fucking panic attack, a BF, a panic attack. Wouldn't be training in Miami where complacency looms if you get distracted. They should have just kept that shit in the UK. Paid Dillian Whyte whatever he wanted. Now you're putting, bro, Eddie Hearn is out here wilding, bro. You put Joshua in a tough fight obviously a tough fight because the guy beat him, with late replacement Andy Ruiz, who's with PBC. Al Heyman set you up, bro. He knew Andy Ruiz was good. He's like, yeah, oh yeah, you need Andy Ruiz? Okay, cool. For whatever reason, they didn't let Luis Ortiz go. Probably because they knew Wilder was going to fight him. So let me get this straight. They kept Luis Ortiz for their own pay-per-view, right? Then they signed a contract for Tyson Fury, they said. And then Al Heyman sent a killer over to you, a secret assassin. He's like the dude that crept up on Tony Montana. They sent Andy Ruiz. Oh yeah, he just likes to eat Snickers and tamales. It's okay. A little pozole and mole and shit. He's not a real threat. And they sent a secret assassin over to set up your fighter and do what the fuck he did and eat a Snickers. They're like, oh yeah, the kid from Up. Yeah, you can fight Ruiz. He's the kid from Up. And they sent this secret assassin with a fucking baby face, who's massively shorter than Joshua. And Eddie Hearn started feeling himself. Oh yeah, send him over. He's a proper fish for us to gut. And Ruiz was like, all right, fuck y'all. Watch this. So they get Eddie Hearn getting game ran on them. I don't give a fuck what y'all talking about. He the dude. Eddie Ruiz is the dude that blasted Scarface in the back with that shotty, bro. He just crept up. You see how he was walking, tiptoeing, like, and he had that gauge on Scarface's back. You know, Tony Montana, he was dumping too. Huh? Okay, you piece of shit. You cockroach, man. That dude just creeped up. Bow, blew Tony. Motherfucker just fell off the stair. Yeah, in that shit. Sosa sent a hitter. Al Heyman is Sosa, bro. Y'all don't know. Al Heyman is Sosa. He sent a hitter. He sent a hitter at you. And Andy Ruiz is a dude. I don't even know if he had a name in the credits. That motherfucker just had that shot. Guy with glasses holding a shotty. That's all he did. Had no speaking lines. Just crept up on Tony. Al Heyman is Sosa. He sent that hitter with them glasses, bro. He's like, oh yeah, you killing some of these little Sosa army people. Watch this. Put that gauge to his back. Bow. Scarface was, oh shit. Here's how else they're fucked up. Now Andy Ruiz has confidence. He likes the feeling of holding all these belts and getting to help his mama out, right? That's a dangerous ass fight for AJ. Straight away, what are you going to do? If AJ fights anyone else than Andy Ruiz, you know why. Because he's not confident, or his team is not confident that that's the best move. So they want to do a tune-up. So it's going to look like he's ducking. If he don't pursue the immediate rematch, then you know he wants to, get right. Or do like David Price versus Tony Thompson, and you run the price of ending up like David Price. When you rematch him, if he knocks you out again, then that's going to be even more devastating, especially if he does it in the UK. If he knocks you out, he already shows he can drop you a bunch of times and stop you. So if he eliminates that, if Joshua's confidence is shook and all that, or if he stops him clean this time, especially if he does in the UK, then it's over. Like, not saying it's over. I'm just saying at the elite level, who's going to want to see the Wilder fight? Who's going to want to see Tyson Fury fight? You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be over for the foreseeable future. So they got some real life decisions. Here's another angle. Eddie Hearn's getting game run on him. I'm trying to tell you. They're putting Dillian White in there with Oscar Rivas. Oscar Rivas can fucking scrap. I don't know who's going to win that. Oscar Rivas is in there. Oscar Rivas has a real life chance, especially with all these other underdogs knocking people out and winning and shit. Oscar Rivas, even in the UK, has a chance because he has power. So if he stops, and that's going to be devastating if Dillian White loses, because Oscar Rivas is with Top Rank. So if Dillian White loses, this will be literally the worst career year that I can think of for Eddie Hearn, because that means your cash cow Joshua lost and Dillian White lost, and they're both losing to people outside of the Matchroom umbrella, not losing to Philip Ergovich or Michael Hunter or Usyk or somebody that you're working with. If Dillian White, there's pressure on him now. If he loses to a top rank guy, then that's going to be horrible, bro. And Top Rank is smart because, no disrespect to Oscar Rivas, but their whole company is not built on Oscar Rivas. You feel what I'm saying? He got a good win over Brian Jennings, some amateur experience, boom, boom, boom. But they still got Crawfords and Shakurs and Lomachenkos and, all these other people. Tyson Fury now. So they can afford to risk him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they can send him over to the Matchroom and give him the opportunity to potentially play spoiler. And obviously if he wins, then that benefits them. But if he loses, it's not going to be the end of Top Rank. Do you get what I'm saying? So just let me put the puzzle pieces together. Joshua just lost embarrassingly, right? If Dillian White loses to Oscar Rivas and Oscar Rivas goes back to Top Rank, then both of your experienced heavyweight, because Philip Ergovich he looks good, but he ain't fought nobody. You know what I'm saying? He has amateur appearance, but he ain't fought no one. He hasn't been built up the same, so he's not selling out crazy numbers. He's undercard fighter. at the moment. So that means your people who are selling pay-per-views for you in the UK that are known as heavyweights both just took L's. So that hurts Joshua, Dillian White. I mean, you can still make it because they have a grudge match, but who wants to see that? Joshua, yeah, so it'll be just like the first Joshua White fight. No belts, you know? No belts on the line because Ruiz has the belts. This man, Eddie Hearn, has a phenomenal blunder. He really allowed Al Heyman to get all of the belts in the heavyweight division. And now that puts so much pressure on Joshua yet again. If Joshua was bugging out over pressure, right? How is this any different? He must beat Andy Ruiz to save face. He must beat Andy Ruiz to save face. If he doesn't, that fucks everything up. If Dillian White loses to Oscar Rivas, that fucks everything up. Eddie Hearn put Amir Khan in there with fucking Crawford. Who picked Khan to beat Crawford at this point, at this stage? You know, people thought it could be interesting, but who really picked Khan to beat Crawford, bro? And then they're talking about Kell Brook and Crawford, bro. Eddie Hearn's guys are getting like slaughtered and beat. If they get, man, he can't afford to take. Katie Taylor really lost, bro. He can't afford to have his stable keep. That's what I'm saying. And the whole thing is this. If you would have made the rightful fights, then it wouldn't have been bad. It wouldn't have been bad. If you made AJ versus Wilder, he has a chance to beat Wilder. I think Wilder would have knocked him out. But it would have been more accepted if Wilder knocked out AJ as opposed to this, short, stubby, pudgy essay. That's how people look at it. A Mexican dude that's out of shape. That's how people perceive it that don't really know boxing. Wilder, people know he's knocking out everybody. So it would have been more accepted. And you would have made more money. So you could build and put that back into the, company. Or instead of Gerald Miller to begin with, who would fail a drug test, you should have made the Dillian White fight. Like I said, you see how old media is dead, bro? I said Luis Ortiz or Dillian White. Luis Ortiz is just a given. That's a dangerous fight for AJ, but again, it would have been more respected for the casual. Everyone knows Luis Ortiz is a fucking beast. So if AJ lost to Luis Ortiz, it's not like he has this shape that everyone's making fun of and all this stuff. He's not that much shorter than Joshua, blah, blah, blah. So even if he were to lose to him, it would have been more accepted, right? Or he could have fought Dillian White and kept the Wembley date, right? And then no matter who won, the belts would still be with Matchroom. So you would have Dillian White, a 3-belt champion. Eddie Hearn fucked this up royally, and Barry Hearn all trying to strategize, trying to play God. If you gave Dillian White the fucking money he wanted, then AJ could have fought Dillian White, and worst case scenario, you have a Matchroom unified 4-belt champion that you have signed. I know Dillian White's on the slave contract, case by case basis or whatever, but you let that belt go to Al Heyman. Now it's do or die. You either try to get that belt back, but it's hit or miss. If Joshua loses again, then Al Heyman's laughing because he has all the belts. So Andy Ruiz just stopped Joshua with the 5-week camp. He comes in with the momentum. He comes in with the confidence. He did that on a 5-week camp. So if you do push for the immediate rematch, right, then he's going to have a full camp, just like Joshua's going to have a full camp. And he would carry the momentum because he knows he can hurt Joshua because he's already did it. And he knows Joshua's weakness, This is terrible. I'm telling you, this is terrible. This is terrible. Because if he would have made, even, like I said, AJ versus Dillian White, whoever won would still be a Matchroom fighter. That would still be a Matchroom. So even if Dillian White knocked out your cash cow, you have Dillian White now as the guy with the 4 belts. So even if you did an AJ trilogy, okay, now you give AJ a chance. They're 1-1. You see how this works? So you could have at least made a trilogy out of it. AJ won the first one. Worst case scenario, whatever. Dillian White wins the second one. Now they're split. So you have all control of all the belts that AJ had still in house, and then you could push for a trilogy. Oh, there's a rematch clause. We need the trilogy. That's how you keep the money flipping. This man put Joshua in there with someone he couldn't beat in America on 5-week notice, switched the whole game up. Now Al Heyman stable got the belts. So either he's going to fight an immediate rematch and risk it all, and if he doesn't lose, then Al Heyman's going to have control of all the belts in the heavyweight division. That's a lot of fucking pressure on AJ. That's a lot of pressure. I'm trying to tell you. That's a lot of pressure because then he has to. Or he just gives in to the fact that we need time to prepare for it. Andy Ruiz, let us take some tune-ups, and he only has a certain amount of time to exercise the rematch clause. So there's a chance Al Heyman still has all the belts. They got it fucked up. And then on top of that, you got Dillian White in a tough-ass fight. This is not good strategizing at all to me. You know? I mean, I'm not condoning like cherry picking and all that, but you got all your fighters in like fights they not winning and shit. Like that's like Lomachenko. She should be the favorite versus Luke Campbell. So Top Rank is putting him in a situation where he could get a third belt. You know, that's not the favorite fight I want to see, but from a business perspective, that makes sense for Top Rank. It's a winnable fight for Lomachenko. It's a gold medalist, and it's for a vacant belt. You know what I'm saying? So people can't really complain too much. You know? People got strategies to this shit. You know? People got strategies. Eddie Hearn just throwing people into like with mercenaries and shit. There's no like real strategy. All this because you didn't want to because you didn't want to fight Wilder where you could have made the most money. All this because you didn't want to fight Luis Ortiz, which again, just like Wilder, would have been respected had AJ lost to one of those heavyweights. Or you could have kept all the money in-house like everyone else is doing, right? By putting the Dillian White fight together. But you didn't want to pay Dillian White, and then you end up putting him in with someone who's coming off of a stoppage over Brian Jennings with an amateur background. That's a do or die fight for him because, you know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with Dillian White after that? And he just acquired Joseph Parker. What are they going to do? You know, if Oscar Rivas stops Dillian White, what are they going to do? Joseph Parker versus Dillian White too? How much interest is that if Oscar Rivas beats him? Plus you let him escape back to Top Rank. I don't know, bro. It sounds like these American promoters are running game on him or some shit. Because they setting him up. They sending high risk threats to him with high return rewards for them. Al Heyman, he sent Andy Ruiz, who's just like I'm not trying to disrespect these guys. He sent Andy Ruiz, who was just fighting on his undercard. You know, wasn't even a co-feature on a Danny Garcia undercard because he has the stable to do that. So Andy Ruiz had everything to win, and he did. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, he had everything. So that wasn't a major loss for Al Heyman's stable, even if Andy Ruiz got knocked out, because they still got Wilder. They still got Joe Joyce. They still got F.A. Ajagba. You know, they still got Luis Ortiz. So Andy Ruiz, I'm not trying to be offensive, but he was expendable because they have so many fighters. And they just acquired Andy Ruiz. So why not give him $1 million+ payday that he wasn't going to get fighting on the undercard? Send him over there with the chance to change his life. And he took the chance and he did something with it and changed his life. So to me, that's a smart move. It's just like putting money on Andy Ruiz. It made sense to put money if you're gambling, even if you didn't think he was going to win. Put a little bit of money. That's how betting works. The odds are all heavy in Joshua's favor, so put a little money just on the off chance that he did win. Eddie Hearns ain't doing that. Same thing with Top Rank. They sent Oscar Rivas. He's not the prime breadwinner for Top Rank, but he's still a threat to Dillian White. So he's enough of a threat that their fighter can go in, spoil the party, and then come back to them. And come back with a scalp. This is just not smart to me. Versus if you would have just paid Dillian White whatever the fuck he wanted got that cracking. Now, even if AJ got knocked out, you would still have a champion with 4 belts instead of Al Heyman having it, bro. I'm dropping too many gems, man. Does everyone get what I'm saying? He made Andy Ruiz a star overnight, and that's not even his fighter. And Andy Ruiz is not a free agent. He's not even a free agent. So sometimes this happens. If a guy has like a small promoter and then they upset like a top ranked fighter, then Bob Arum will just fuck around and sign that person. You know, they'll be like, oh, we're working in conjunction with, Johnny Boy Promotions. But it'll be, Top Rank is the big promoter. And they'll just give a cut to the little guy. That makes sense, you know. But Andy Ruiz, you let him in there with a fucking guy that you don't have any options on. That's why his dad probably tried to attack you, to be honest. Same thing with Michael Hunter. He's a matchroom fighter. Worst case scenario, if Joshua would have fought Michael Hunter, I don't know how big the fight would be, but at least the money would have been in-house. Eddie Hearn fucking the money all up because he's not even keeping the money in-house. Like, if Wilder, I'm just spitballing this. If Deontay Wilder, he's taking a dangerous fight with Luis Ortiz. Worst case scenario, Luis Ortiz knocks out Wilder. That's an Al Heyman fighter. So if Wilder got knocked out, Luis Ortiz, there would be a rematch clause. But even if there wasn't, that's an Al Heyman fighter. So he could put Luis Ortiz in with Adam Kaunowski or Andy Ruiz if he's free and he's not fighting Joshua or something. You see? And I'm not saying every fight should be like not working with someone else, but at a time it makes sense. You know, Top Rank putting Lomachenko with Luke Campbell. He has a strong chance to beat Luke Campbell. He beat the guy that beat the guy. He beat Jorge Linares, and Luke Campbell got knocked down by Jorge Linares, and he's been knocked down before. So Lomachenko might beat Luke Campbell's ass. That'll be another Eddie Hearn fighter losing. Danny Jacobs just lost to Canelo. Rocky Fielding just lost to Canelo. What is Eddie Hearn doing for real? Bro, I understand giving your fighter a big person opportunity, but these dudes, Rocky Fielding wasn't going to beat no Canelo, bro. Jacobs maybe, he had a chance, but he lost. Now he's talking about moving to 68. It's just like, bro, he's catching L's, he's catching the fade. Like, all his fighters are catching the fade. And he don't have this. That's the thing. They're catching the fade, but he don't have a stable big enough for everyone to be losing like that. Or like I said, Josh Kelly, he didn't lose, but the perception is that he might have lost or he has some work cut out for him. Right? Caleb Smith, what about him? Usyk, what about him? Usyk's injured. And he's a co-promoter. He don't have the full options on Usyk. That's co-promotional. He's with K2. So y'all not fucking with me, man. Caleb Smith, he's good, but who you gonna put him in with? David Benavidez? That's a dangerous fight. Canelo, Canelo's good. Some people are saying Caleb Smith will beat him. I don't know. Because he hasn't fought no one like Canelo. So who's Caleb Smith gonna fight? Because so you're gonna go from Hassan N'Dam to Canelo, Hassan N'Dam to Caleb Plant, to David Benavidez. I don't know. Is he there? Is he that good? Is he ready right now? Tevin Farmer's raw, but who's he gonna fight? Who's Eddie Hearn gonna fight next? That's what I'm saying. It has to be like a succession plan, like a structure. Like, okay, you have to have like, this is my cash cow. This is my other, go-to person. And then we're building these people up, ramping them up, getting them ready for the big league. So you have something to fall back on. All of Eddie Hearn's like roster is taking losses, and or the ones that aren't taking losses haven't really fought the fights where anyone would think they would lose. Do you feel what I'm saying? Like Caleb Smith, he ain't taken a loss, but he hasn't fought anyone that we believe would even come close to giving him a loss. Hassan Ndam, that's a middleweight, fighting at super middleweight. You know, and then like I said, the perception for like Josh Kelly's last. This weekend was a terrible weekend for Eddie Hearn. Because Josh Kelly, you know, he didn't look as sharp. He arguably lost. Katie Taylor did lose, and they just didn't give it to her. You know, Joshua did lose. Like I said, Caleb Smith did great, but he also was in there with someone who's not even a super middleweight. That's just the cold hard facts, people. It's just what it is. I just ran through Eddie's whole like kind of operation. People are either in a dangerous fight like Dillian White and Oscar Rivas. He could have kept that money in house because Dillian White might be able to beat Joshua now. I don't know because they didn't fight, you know. But I'm saying before Andy Ruiz beat him. But at least you would have kept the money in house. How like that's what I'm saying. Okay. Real talk. As a business decision, how does it make any sense? This is I told you, this is showing, this is making everything palpable that I'm saying, everything tangible so everyone can easily understand it. This shows you the arrogance. This shows you the pompous. They didn't think Joshua could lose to the guy they picked. Obviously, they wouldn't have picked him. Right? If they knew that, damn, this guy's for sure going to beat on a 5-week, for sure going to beat. They looked at the body and fell into the trap that everyone else fell. Al Heyman sent Sosa Heyman sent the dude that clipped Scarface in the back. That's what happened. But they didn't see it coming. Now Al Heyman running around with a guy eating Snickers with 4 belts. And now you have a do or die decision where you have a non-confident Joshua who has mental lapses, it looks like. And now it's going to be all the fucking pressure in the world to fight Andy Ruiz again and win or go another direction. Now Al Heyman got all these belts. Bro, that was an L for Eddie Hearn, for Rematch Room, for Slave Room, for DAZN, for Anthony Joshua. That was an L. Barry Hearn, the slave trade, that was an L. Because now it's you fucked up. And either you could get your the best possible scenario is they do a rematch immediately and Joshua gets the belts back by like beating or knocking out Andy Ruiz or some shit. But do you want, that's a high okay, that's like me. The position Eddie Hearns is in is this. You're at a casino, right? You brought $500. You got all of the money up to $6,000. $6,000 is looking nice. You know, you could pay some bills and you go on a trip, you know, buy some school supplies for your kid. And then you have a good feeling and your machine keeps hitting. You're going to have to put all 6,000 in the machine on one pull. And if you don't hit on that one pull, then it's going to gobble up your whole 6,000. That's the position he's in with Joshua in Ruiz rematch. All of your money and you're taking it on one pull. You're taking the chance of one pull. What I mean is this is another Tony Thompson, David Price, then it's over because Joshua would have to win. If he loses again or loses worse or loses in the UK, then that puts Joshua back even further. And he still doesn't get his belt back. And now it's checkmate because Al Heyman got every heavyweight belt. They can make all the Wilder, Luis Ortiz, you know, they don't even have to fight Tyson Fury. They can have Wilder versus Luis Ortiz. And if Joshua doesn't rematch him or he rematches him and loses, they can make Wilder versus Ruiz for undisputed. That's a fucked up position to be in, bro. Because you have to bet it all on one pool. Either Joshua has to make the adjustments and, you know, you have to take that gamble with the immediate rematch. Knowing this guy beat you on a 5-week camp and give him a 10, 12-week camp, time to prepare and hope Joshua has what it takes to beat this guy, or you say, nah, we don't want to go into immediate rematch, and then you let Al Heyman skate away with all these belts, and the rematch clause time period expires. It's a tricky position. I mean, what would you do? Would you put Joshua back in there with Andy Ruiz his very next fight, based on how he looked? Y'all motherfuckers is laughing. I'm being so serious. Look at Ohio Runs Boxing and sent me this. I told you. It said the moment you realize he fucked up 50 million guaranteed. He looks so hot, bro. He knows, because that's what I'm saying. The charade is over. Now it's like big boy problems. It's like, look, this is how Joshua was looking. You gonna put him back in there with Ruiz straight away? When he just did a quote, or you just did a quote saying, I get the feeling that Joshua was relieved not having the pressure from the belts. You gonna put him back in there? Or you gonna, give him some time off to rest, give him some time to build back with, JoJo Dan type dude, whoever y'all got. You know what I'm saying? I'll be mad too if I was the dad, because this is kind of put him in a fucked up position, like mismanaged. Because now I'm just being fair, man. That's a lot of fucking pressure on Joshua. If he had, and see, this is the thing. It don't matter if you in the USA or UK. That's pressure is pressure. You, if I have I don't know, if I have an essay done, essay to do or something I got to turn in, it don't matter where the fuck. I can be in England, I can be in Compton. Pressure is pressure. It don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, pressure don't change depending on where you're at. So hometown crowd, I mean, how many people we seen lose in their hometown, like Jared Hurd and J-Rock. So even if they reschedule, because the fight would probably happen in the UK, the rematch, that's not going to change. Joshua has to make actual adjustments. I don't know. It's a difficult pressure burst pipes. Damn, y'all savage. I'm just saying that's a difficult spot. Like, I'll be the first to admit that's a difficult spot, because most people, like when Danny Garcia knocked out Amir Khan, he took a tune-up style fight with Carlos Molina, like a guy from 35 brought him up to 40. So do you rob your fighter of the chance to learn from the loss and get back on his feet? Then you put him in a do or die situation. Block Daniel Motors. Fuck what you talking about. Never liked you anyway. Block Daniel Motors. Thank you. Okay, see, it's funny. These dudes always say this about new media and get mad. Tell me I'm lying, though. Tell me I'm lying. How is he not in this position? How is he not in this position? That's all I need to know. Make sure y'all smash the like button before these haters come back. If Joshua was already living in his head, having anxiety, you've just put your fighter in even more anxiety and more pressure, because then now he knows, if I lose to Ruiz, the ride is not going to be the same after that point. If he knocks me out in front of home, come on, bro. He's going to have to be really confident in his ability. Or he swerves the rematch. And then now, like I said, Al Heyman got all them heavyweight belts to do as he pleases with it. So that's a conundrum. That's a difficult spot to be in. I mean, am I lying? It's a worse look if he don't take the rematch. Yeah, but he got knocked down 4 times. Did he look like he blocked Sam? This is the same dude. He a rat. Blocked Sam Davini. Look, that old media shit is dead. He said, "You're the biggest hater." I'm the biggest hater, but you won't explain what I'm saying that is wrong. You got to go. I don't. Why did they try this with us? You realize I'm destroying them. Old media is being destroyed. They come with the same 1-2, same 1-2, and act like we don't see it. Oh yeah, you're fucking lying. You're a hater. Okay, how is Joshua not in this position? Well, okay, what are Joshua's options then? If I didn't outline them, Joshua has 3 options: immediate rematch, retire, or fight somebody else and get your bearings back. This is common sense. Ego, I have a really good point. The reason AJ isn't going to take the rematch is because of his dad. Based on what you said earlier about his dad, I don't think he's going to take that rematch. I mean, that's speculation. I don't even know what his dad was mad at. So, I don't know. But there's a lot of pressure because Joshua would be in a must-win situation. Or if he doesn't take the rematch, as you're precluding, then that means Al Heyman won because he crept in Sosa's army and he had the dude come behind Scarface and blast his back out. And then now they have all the belts. So you just gave Battleship Sunk. You gave them all of the hardware that Joshua was raving about. You just gave it to him. So if you don't rematch him, then you just gave them all the power of the heavyweight division. At least for like merit. Like I said, Dillian White, right? He has to get past Oscar Rivas. That's a dangerous fight. Dillian White, how's he gonna get his hand on the belt? He's gonna have to be ranked with somebody and called as the mandatory. Because the Matchroom doesn't have the belt. They don't have the. If they don't take the immediate rematch and then they just leave the belts with PBC, then why would Al Heyman, with all the heavyweights he has, from Joe Joyce to Adam Kaunowski to Wilder to Luis Ortiz, etc. Why the fuck would he just make Ruiz versus Dillian White when he could keep the money in house? Yo, petty. No, I'm just saying that doesn't even make sense. Like I said, the only other way is if he was the mandatory. But there's a little bit of hope because I heard some funky stuff. They're saying Ruiz might get stripped of the belt if he doesn't fight. These sanctioning bodies are weird, bro. They did this to Tyson Fury. So if the belts get split up like that, then that's an option too. If they strip him on some bullshit. But when the belt changes hands, it should be reset. It really should. But I guess it couldn't because that means people have been waiting. But there should be. Basically what would happen is if they call the mandatory and say, oh, you got to fight the mandatory because you just got the belt, then he would have to request an exemption. And if they didn't approve it, then he'd have to fight a mandatory. And then going into a Joshua rematch, if he would get stripped, just like Tyson Fury did. Tyson Fury was going to fight Klitschko in a rematch, so they stripped him. That's how the IBF became available. So, difficult position, people. How confident is AJ now? Will he go in there again knowing this guy can knock you out, plus you were a quitter? I'm telling you, it's a difficult position. But Eddie Hearn's not even being strategic about it. He's putting his fighters in with dangerous fights that are with other promoters on top of that. Bro, he's putting all of his fighters in with... Okay, Luke Campbell is an Eddie Hearn fighter who's already challenged for a title and lost to Jorge Linares, and he also has another loss. He's gonna fight Lomachenko, who is the favorite. So he's gonna have to pull an upset because Lomachenko is definitely the favorite. Dangerous fight. Oscar Rivas versus Dillian White. That's a dangerous fight, and that's a top-ranked fighter. He just put AJ in with Ruiz, who's with Heyman, and they thought they were going to body him, and they got upset. So a rematch is, again, a dangerous fight. So you can't, bro, how you going to take that many fighters of your prime fighters, and they're all losing at the same time? That can't, how is that good for anybody, bro? And Golden Boy is with DAZN. They didn't have a big roster to begin with. You know, same thing with Katie Taylor. Are they going to put her in with this Delphine chick again? And she really lost the first fight. Then now it's another do or die fight. You're trying to build up Katie Taylor. The first fight was rough as fuck. That other girl looks really tough. Delphine Persoons. Bro, this whole shit is about to get real interesting. We called it. I tried to tell them, this is what happens. You play games. This is what happens. You play games. Now, back to what I was saying. How much is it worth? This is why Joshua's dad probably was pissed trying to swing on Eddie Hearn. Because how much is it worth to you to do all this? Like, for example, from a business perspective, I'm not even pretending to be a fan or a journalist right now. I'm just talking pure business. If I'm in the business of matchroom, slave room, rematch room, right? The pure business is this. How much is it worth to let the negotiations fail with Dillian White to push for Gerald Miller? See, that's what I'm saying. This is what happens when you have a pompous attitude. They thought they had controlled the board. They thought, oh, Gerald Miller, but what they didn't anticipate is this chain of events. Bro, bad thing after bad thing has happened to Eddie Hearn. Gerald Miller fucked up the event, and he failed a drug test. So they're like, fuck. So now they were stuck. Why would we make a Dillian White fight in America? Right? So they played like they wanted to fight Luis Ortiz, which I don't believe, because they should have fought him from the beginning. Y'all bought it. And then they landed on Andy Ruiz, who they felt, okay, you know, he's small, he's fat, blah, blah, blah. Underestimated him. And then Gerald Miller lost. He didn't fight Dillian White. You thought you were going to beat Andy Ruiz. And all these things lined up, and it didn't line up in your favor. So the dominoes are starting to fall. The dominoes are starting to fall. That's a series of misfortunes with Matchroom. It's a series of misfortunes all back to back. So I ask you again, you had Wembley. You probably had to pay money for, you know, wasting their time and holding the venue up for April 13th, just to switch to Madison Square Garden in June. So you're paying venue fees for a venue you're not going to use, or a deposit. I don't know exactly how it works, but who believes that since August or September of last year, Wembley has been booked up for September and April 13th. They reserved that date, and then they canceled on Wembley, and they don't have to pay nothing. Who believes that? You know what I'm saying? You probably got to pay them something. And then you switch your event to Madison Square Garden. But what I'm saying is you could have stayed at Wembley and fought Dillian White, and even if he beat your cash cow, at least he's a matchroom fighter that has the belts. So Dillian White would be posing with the belts, but that's a matchroom fighter. You got an Al Heyman fighter who you have no options on. He's a star now, posing with the belts. This is what happens when you're trying to get greedy. You try to manipulate and control the board. Now you're in a position where it's like, fuck, what do we do? Do we put Joshua back in with the guy that just dropped him 4 times and can take a punch and did it on a 5-week camp, and now he's going to have full time to prepare? That's a huge gamble. Now you got Dillian White fighting a difficult style and a dangerous guy with an amateur background. That's a dangerous fight. Do you swerve the Andy Ruiz fight and then give Al Heyman all of the heavyweight belts? That's what I'm saying. He didn't play his chips right. He didn't play his cards right. Dillian White, I don't know what he wanted. I don't know what he wanted. But it sounds like you should have gave it to him. Because, like I said, let's say Dillian White wanted $15 million. You probably had to overpay Ruiz. And he's not even your fighter. So you could have just gave Dillian White what the fuck he wanted, kept the Wembley date. Joshua wouldn't have this anxiety. He wouldn't have had to make this American debut. And worst case scenario, even if Joshua got slept by like he did by Andy Ruiz, it would have been a matchroom fighter sleeping him with all the belt. Rumor has it AJ's dad found out Hearn was having his son's eyes out. What the fuck does that even mean? Having his eyes out. I don't get that. Can anyone translate gibberish? What the fuck does that even mean? Yeah, it was a good night of boxing, but not for Eddie Hearn. I never heard that term for ripping someone off. Jerry Alexander, $5 super chat. One thing about Don King is that he always left with the winner. Yeah, and he made the tough fights. He did. He made you fight. You know, he had big fights. That's what I'm saying. Like Eddie Hearn didn't even put himself in a position to win right here. Like I said, whatever Dillian White wanted, you should have probably just paid him, and then you could have just did your thing in the UK. And then worst case scenario, no matter who won, you would have options on them. Now you got someone running around with all the belts. And see, mentally, I question Joshua's mental. I don't even know Joshua. They know Joshua. So if what I believe is true, then they would know this better than me because they actually know him. I question his mental strength, his mental dexterity, right? So they would know if that's true or if that should be reason to question. Based on his performance, I think I'm on the right track. So if he was stressed out and panicked over this, what kind of pressure did you just put him under now? You just made everything worse, man. You know, because now he knows, oh, I got to put everything in. And like I said, you're bringing on board a sports psychologist while you're winning. While you're winning, what the fuck happens when you lose? And when everything's riding on you to be the guy that just stopped you and made you quit or whatever. You know, if he was already living his head talking about, oh, what if I think I could beat him, but what if I get hit with a one shot? And Joshua's always had these like little fears. Like there's another interview he says, oh, my big fear is getting hit with the shot that I didn't see, and one loss shouldn't define my career. He sounds like he's always worried about that. You can't look like that. J-Rock didn't worry about his one loss to Charlo. He just got better and worked. So Joshua, if he's not mentally strong, then he's out of here. Because this is boxing. Boxing is 90% mental. And for those who are just joining that didn't see, like this picture scares me. Look, in case you're just joining, Eddie Hearn just told us he got the sense from Anthony Joshua that he's relieved to have suffered his first loss because there was so much pressure on him. Eddie Hearn just told us that Joshua, which is exactly what the fuck I said, he feels relieved to get the pressure off him. So you think he wants to go have the pressure of a guy who just stopped him at home for all the belts, for all the marbles? You just made it worse, bro. Crazy. You have to strategize a little bit, and I'm not even like one to advocate for the business side of boxing like that, but that's just not smart business. Yeah, you just made it worse with the pressure. Like that's like, let's say I have a child or something, and they're afraid of monsters or some shit. So I started making them watch Pet Cemetery and like fucking Freddy Krueger movies. Like if they're already skittish and like scared of movies and shit, why the fuck am I have them watching that? They really if they have nightmares as is. Why am I gonna have them watch Jason and Freddy Krueger and shit? You get what I'm saying? If Joshua is already succumbing to pressure and he's happy to be relieved, then you just put more pressure on him. You gonna make him fight in the UK against a guy that just beat him? All right, good luck. Then it's do or die. Yeah, Pet Cemetery. I said Pet Cemetery. I sound like Cardi B and shit. Pet Cemetery. Yeah, Pet Cemetery. I mean, shit. AJ is in deep. He can't cope with the pressure. So what? Okay, this Snickers eating motherfucker. He confident. You gonna put him in the UK and I'm just saying that's like this is crazy. I don't see the structure to the plan. But like I said, that's what happens when you underestimate people, when you come across and you play games with American media, when you when you try to control the board. This what happens because one subtle move doesn't go your way, and then it sets off a chain reaction. I told you guys this, bro. I don't know if I've been any more right with any other thing that I've said on my channel. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, took a subject and everything that I said regarding this subject, you are now starting to see. I told you, Gerald Miller should never have had, and that's my guy, but he should have never had first dibs over the other people that Joshua could have fought because he didn't even have a 2018 like that. Dillian White had a bigger 2018 with three solid performances where he should have got that over anybody, or Luis Ortiz should have got it over him. They gave it to the one person and then they relied on Gerald Miller, and it was good. They're like, okay, he's a New Yorker, trash talker, he could help us sell. But the thing is, he was dirty and he pissed dirty. So that was the beginning to the end. They should have just counted their losses and made them, DAZN mad and Madison Square Garden and regrouped. That's what I think they should have did. They should have regrouped at that point because everything you just made everything worse. You forced Joshua into, that's why his dad was probably hot. You forced Joshua. He didn't even want to, bro. I told you guys, Joshua lacks mental, you know, togetherness or whatever. He just said in his old interviews, said, "Do you want to fight America?" He said, "No." That it was literally after the Parker fight. I have it on my computer. They said, "Hey, Anthony Joshua, do you want to fight? You took over the UK. Do you want to take over America?" He said, "No." Just like that. Then 8 months later, he also turned down $50 million to keep the Wilder fight for less money in the UK. Right? Look at the signs. So after the Parker fight, they said, you've done amazing things here in the UK. You took over the UK. Do you plan to invade and take over America next? He said, no. For so many years, UK fighters, we always had to travel, and I like what we got here. We developed this and blah, blah, blah. Then he stayed consistent. Wilder offered him $50 million. He said, I'm not going to sell my soul, give him control, devil in the details. I'd rather take less money to stay in the UK. But then Eddie Hearn made him fight in the USA against Gerald Miller, and he was on board with that, right? Didn't like Miller, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then when that got fucked up, because the one person you picked was the guy who failed a drug test, okay, they should have just stopped, paused, and regrouped. But they didn't. They pressed the issue. He didn't want to fight in America because he would have took 50 million with Wilder and 50% of the pay-per-view. He didn't want to fight because they asked him after the Parker fight, post-fight interview, and he said, "Do you want to fight in America?" "No." All right. So you forced him to fight in America, or DAZN or whoever did that. And then as soon as the Gerald Miller fight was ex-nayed, you probably should have stopped and regrouped, because you put this card on, and this was the worst card for all your fighters. Katie Taylor lost. Tommy Coyle lost. Josh Kelly needs work, and he arguably lost. Caleb Smith was the only one with the solid performance in Buatsi. And they had mismatches. Joshua lost. This was horrible. This was a huge, they need major recovery from this, just off of one night. Like I said, worst case scenario, you should have just fought Dillian White, gave him what he wanted, and then you would have, at the end of the night, a matchroom fighter with all them belts. Period. Now, on top of what I just said, you got Dillian White in a tough fight with a guy who's not your fighter again. That's who does this? And I'm not just advocating for in-house fights, but shit, who does this? Dillian White's in a fight he could lose with Oscar Rivas to another fighter, to another promoter's fighter. Why would you keep doing this right in this small space of time, bro? Same thing with Katie Taylor. You gonna do a rematch with her? She just became undisputed. Now you put her in a tough fight for undisputed. She didn't win it. The public feels she didn't win it. A lot of people. You gonna do a rematch to that? It's just you can't have your whole squad taking L's like this in a short space of time. That wouldn't be good for anyone. He says self-destruction. Man, y'all know what it is. I'm being real. I'm being so real, bro. That's a lot of that's like Lomachenko, Shakur Stevenson, and Crawford all losing. You know what I'm saying? And then they put Teofimo in a tough ass fight. I mean, that's like Top Rank doing that. Or they put Tyson Fury in that's just not smart. You know what I'm saying? Tyson Fury fighting a guy he should beat. I mean, upsets can happen, but you scheduling these crazy fights, it's just nobody should be scheduling all their top talent in fights they're losing all at once from a business perspective. That's like Errol Spence, Sean Porter, and Danny Garcia all losing with PBC. You know what I'm saying? Like that's hella. That's too many of your stars losing at once. Hey, block Paul Neal Guru. He's a rat. I can already feel it. He said the scam is over. Hype job revealed. We gonna see. We gonna see what they do, but difficult positioning. Bro, that's a great point. Look at Eric. New media, we out here. Look. You lost to a guy who's not ranked in the top 10. That's what makes it worse. I knew Andy Ruiz could scrap, but that's the perception. People are looking at it. I think he was in the top 15 though. But yeah, he's not in the top 15. I mean, not in the top 10. Don't look like he could scrap. Doesn't look the part. AJ looks way bigger. That's what casuals look at, you know. So I don't understand the format that Eddie Hearn is scheduling his people on. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of L's. Ted Cheeseman fucking lost. You know, you got to be able to do something like. Okay, now let's relate this to DAZN. This is DAZN. DAZN as it relates to boxing. Golden Boy didn't have a big stable to begin with. Some of Golden Boy's fights are still on Facebook. So Golden Boy already didn't have a big fight stable. So it was kind of relying on Matchroom. That's another reason why I keep bringing up the L's, because what cards are, like, name some DAZN cards that they could do. Because they said 16 or 32 UK nights, and no, 16 UK nights and 16 or whatever number, 32 UK nights and fights, and then your UK side is getting slaughtered. Name some UK fights they could make on DAZN. Blue Blood said that Ruiz said in case of a rematch, it will not be in the UK but LA or back in New York. Okay, so Joshua had tremors or whatever the fuck, and he felt pressure for the fight in America. So they're gonna put it back in America. Man, I'm not understanding none of this. Someone said none. AJ versus the dude off Taken. Hey, you tripping? I don't know who you are. Brooke versus Khan. Khan's fighting some dude in Saudi Arabia. That's what I'm saying, bro. Just look at it. Kell Brook don't know where he's at. Amir Khan just lost. Danny Jacobs just lost. Sam Egington just lost. Ted Cheeseman just lost. Tommy Coyle just lost. Katie Taylor was gifted a win, but she really just lost. AJ just lost. Bro, that's a lot of fucking people. That's a lot of people in a lot. And then, like I said, and see, Eddie, oh my gosh, bro. If you don't see new media is killing shit, and that's why I said Eddie got to go through us. Eddie got to strike the. Remember I said I don't see the game plan having a UK fight, a UK fighter fighting an American, and you turn away American media instead of strengthening, trying to bring the UK out. So now he turned away American media, not me. I didn't even apply for the fight because of principle, and I'm not going to go into it again, right? But other UK people got seats over trusted American media, right? So DAZN is not available in the UK, right? What type of fights are you going to make it entertaining, to make it enticing to spend $100 a year or $20 a month for DAZN? When you just put your fighters in all these tough fights, and a lot of them took losses. It just doesn't make sense. He said, Eddie, what have you done for me lately? Bro, it doesn't make sense. And then on top of just weird shit, bro, you putting Dillian White. That's what I'm saying. It has to be like pompous arrogance, because he just thinks it's a given that his fighters are going to win or something. You're putting Dillian White in a tough fight with a top ranked fighter. So if that top rank, I don't know if there's a rematch clause, but you better hope Oscar Rivas don't win. Joshua just lost to Al Heyman fighter. And now you have to make that decision of what's next for Joshua, rematch or look elsewhere. Right? Danny Jacobs just lost to Canelo. So who's he going to fight in his first fight at 168? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Caleb Smith is at 175 or actually 168. I don't think he would fight in his first fight. Coming off a loss to Canelo, he's gonna just move up and fight Caleb Smith first fight. I don't know. Then that's I don't know. It's just it's a really hard strategy, bro. But like I said, they turn away American media. You need American media to blow up your fights. You know, you got Andre versus Selesky, but then you put it on the same week as the Charlo fight in Houston. Really? Don't give the idiot Hearns no more game ego. I enjoy seeing them fall flat. Nah, I'm not. It's not. It's inevitable. Like it's too late though, because what the stuff I'm talking about is already done. You already have the Oscar Rivas fight going. So it's what are you gonna pull out of the fight? That's a good point. He said DAZN will soon incorporate an ads option similar to Hulu and Hulu Premium. That's I can picture that. Hey, bro, y'all wilding in this comment section. I'm just saying, man, he's not putting himself in the strength of a position of power, and this is all facts. If this is a good look, you please explain to it all these things happening in a short space of time. Like I said, Liam Smith. Okay, who you gonna put him in there with? Because he beat Sam Eggington. Make an American fight for him. Canelo beat him. Jaime Munguia already beat him. Like what fight are you gonna put him in there with? And this is what I'm saying. I told you they couldn't win at this game, bro. You need America. The zone is not available in the UK. You have to go through the American channel. So why not strengthen your relationship? You have to work with us. And then now Joshua, his biggest star, which he probably didn't think was going to lose, lost. And you turned away American media who were willing to cover that fight. Now you think Blue Blood is going to cover Andrade versus Selesky over the more, popping Houston fight with the Charlos? You know, just simple mathematics, people. You didn't let him cover your fight. He lives in New York. The Selesky fight with Andre is probably closer to him. It is closer than Texas. But you see, that's what I'm saying. They gotta respect us. They gotta respect the digital mob. They gotta respect new media. I'm telling you. Because how is it that you got someone a New Yorker and he can't get access to a New York fight, right? And has a popular channel, people pay attention. Now you have that same New Yorker who's willing to go to Houston to cover a fight. That's why they should, you got to strengthen your relationship, baby. Because now Joshua was your biggest star. That was your biggest attraction that American media would want to cover. Out of your whole stable, American or. Now you got to get people to cover, Jacobs will probably get a tune-up fight. Because he's just coming off the Canelo loss. And who you gonna bring after a disastrous American card? You're gonna bring Ted Cheeseman, who what I'm saying? It's looking crazy. It's looking crazy. And like I said, they should have DAZN. I blame them too. Block Craig. I blame DAZN because they allowed Eddie Hearn to do this, and rub people the wrong way. I explained this stuff to you guys. They allowed Eddie Hearn to run around, gallivant around, because he thought he was bigger than that. He thought nobody was tripping. Nobody was going to, his fighter wasn't going to lose. He didn't think his fighters would lose. That's the part. This is what happens. This is the wake-up call part. This is the wake. You know what I'm saying? This is the part. Now you need American media because Joshua's okay. You see how many people? I'm telling you, I know boxing. I know how boxing works. You know how many people just turn on Joshua just because he lost? That's the nature of boxing. So you have to strengthen your relationship with boxing because media. If your biggest star just lost, so you think people are going to cover some of the smaller events if you didn't treat them right, if you didn't give them credentials for the, the bigger fights where they wanted to get the coverage. This is a hustle for everybody. This is my full-time employment. I don't know about everyone else, but I gotta eat. I gotta make money. You know what I'm saying? And I know other people are probably trying to get to the most popping events too. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this works with the zone, because like I said, Golden Boy already doesn't have a big stable. I'm talking about ready-made big name people. They got Canelo and Ryan Garcia. Those are like the biggest names right now. Like Virgil Ortiz is nice with it, but I don't think he's a big name at this moment. You know? And then Eddie Hearn's UK stable is taking major hits. Some real life things you got to decide. We'll see how it all plays out, but and then the other thing is weird with DAZN is like they talking about giving Joshua 36 mil. You gave him so like this is why I'm saying this DAZN, like the pay scale is crazy. Because they have to invest so much without knowing the outcome. Boxing is weird like that. So they said Joshua's getting 30 to 37 million. I don't know what he's making, but that's what I heard, right? So you're paying him 37 million and he lost. So his stock drops. This is what I feared. This is what I told you. You have someone that's on all of your flyers, all your main TV ad or whatever ads that you do, posters and shit, highlight clips, is Anthony Joshua. And he just got knocked down 4 times and lost to a guy who's not even affiliated with DAZN, and is not a free agent or anything. This is what happens. This is what happens. How you paying someone 40 million? That's what I'm saying. It's too much pressure. You're paying someone, 35 million, 20 million, whatever. You're paying them 20 million and then they lose. Then now you have that much money tied up in one person. No pay-per-view. That, like, okay. Let's say Broner Pacquiao. It's on pay-per-view. So if people pay for the pay-per-view, they're paying to watch that. So you're helping to facilitate why you're paying them so much. Joshua just lost with no pay-per-view. So whatever the fight concurrent streams or whatever generated, that's just what it is. I don't see the I don't see how that's sustainable unless it did crazy numbers or something. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's better to have like a well balanced team than 5 guys that you have to potentially overpay, or you have to, you at the very least you got to make sure they on some Floyd. Like Showtime paid Floyd crazy money, but it was Floyd. He was a guaranteed draw. He was the biggest star in boxing. So it's like they didn't really lose in that situation. He put on the biggest event every single year. AJ hadn't proven that, you know. They don't have real numbers like Floyd. And they just got shit like that to figure out, which is what I've been saying. Old media is dead. Like DAZN, they keep AJ getting knocked out in the 3rd round. They're putting that all. They're putting it all on their YouTube. So people are paying $20 and they're probably feeling pissed off. Like, yo, I'm paying $20 of my own money and all this shit's on YouTube for free. What am I paying for? So I just can't understand certain moves, but whatever. That's my time, people. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. We working. New media. I told you we destroying old media, bro. There's a lot of tough questions that need to be asked, and we should get them, before the end of the year. But I don't know. Eddie Hearn took some major damage this weekend with all these losses and perceived losses, and you know, and in turn, DAZN took losses because, like I said, Golden Boy never had a big stable of American fighters that are ready made for the limelight. So a lot of this was dependent on Canelo and what Matchroom could do. Cause even the Triple G's there, but they got bro. This shit is crazy. They got Triple G fighting Steve Rolls. Nobody's talking about that fight. Nobody. They better hope Steve Rolls don't pull a fucking Andy Ruiz. Then, man, that would be unheard of. That would be unheard of L's if Steve Rolls come out here, because it's at a catch weight and Golovkin's been on a. I don't know nothing about Steve Rolls, so I ain't doing no 7 reasons on that. I don't even know who the fuck he is, but it's not. Golovkin has been out for a while, and he's fighting him at a catch weight, and the guy fights at 168. So even if Golovkin, that's what I'm saying. You can't have all this money tied up in the people with no pay-per-view, because what if Golovkin loses? What if he looks suspect? Would you gonna force us to watch Canelo Triple G, and if it's perceived that this guy out of nowhere gave him a tough fight, bro? This is insane. I don't see who greenlighted all this stuff. That's what I'm saying. They should have made Triple G versus Andre, because at the very least, those are 2 skilled Olympians. No one will be mad at who lost. See, we teach in boxing a lesson. They just need to make more fights that we need, as opposed to anything else. Period. Because Andre, you could justify him beating Golovkin. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Golovkin lost to Andre, there's no shame in that. If Andre lost to Golovkin, there's no shame in that. But if Triple G looks sus next to Steve Rolls, or, God forbid, lost to Steve Rolls, then they're fucked. They're fucked up. You had to, that'll be another person. If he doesn't do numbers and he loses or some shit, you paying him 20 million, 18 million for a fight that's not generating, man. I'm gonna be paying attention. I gotta see how this. I gotta see how all this play out. That's my time though. Holla at the kid.